What's going on, everybody? Doc here, Average Gamer Guys, back again. Last day on Earth action. In the video, genuinely, I don't really want to have to record, but I'm going to. Let me set the stage here really quickly. The new season pass rolled out. Lots of folks in the comments section unhappy. How the series of videos went last week as I had to do, and I try to let you know if I'm doing some large advanced recording. Sometimes I have to do that. Not my day job, but I enjoy making content for this game, for other games as well. In case you didn't know, I have other channels that I do some other games on, and have a lot of fun with that. I just genuinely like making content. So last week had to record a couple of videos. I am a huge fan of the end of the season. I like hanging on to the rewards. I like being able to kind of grab all the chests and the rewards at the same time. I think it's a really kind of interesting way to play the game. It makes you less reliant on the season rewards as you move through. It kind of feels like a nice surprise or a nice little bonus when a season wraps up. Especially on free-to-play, at the outset, that was really, somewhat difficult to do. But as I got further into the game and continued to progress, it just became something nice and has really allowed me to fill up my my season rewards and my inbox. I'm on my main account here. My main account, I always get the season pass. And I've liked the season pass. I like the old one. Thought it was pretty good. It was not without its faults. It was definitely not without its faults. But today I want to talk about the new season pass, the rollout, and to be honest, my disappointment. Lots of folks, and I don't blame anybody for this, lots of folks are disappointed with the new season pass. There are quite a few specific things that we've talked about. I think the lack of the 3 extremely rare blueprints was a huge hit. The breaking up of some rewards into different stacks and spreading them out. There's a few other minor bugs, and certain things certain people would point to other things that they didn't like. The change in how the cosmetics are handled and some of that stuff. I agree. I think a lot of those are feedback. Not to say, again, that the old pass was perfect. It was certainly not, but I think it had been around in the game for so long. People had become really used to what it provided. And that becomes sometimes a really hard thing to make improvements on. If you've been playing the game for a while, you come to kind of expect or come to kind of get used to or enjoy, particularly some of the really good rewards. And I don't think it's even an argument. I think pretty much everybody would say that the 3 extremely rare BPs was the best part about the old pass. There were some other things to like, but that was one of the biggest ones, especially for free-to-play players. I've done the free-to-play journey. If you're not familiar, if you're just stopping into this the first time, I have the ATV. We have like 130 episodes of playing it. I'm playing my account a little over a year on free-to-play. You can make progress. A lot of the content that I try to focus around is making progress in the game, finding what is important to pick up, how to kind of set yourself up for success, where to spend your resources, all that kind of stuff. And I do think the season pass is a huge help. Now, there's some old events that we got that have been revamped, through this last year that also were a big part of that, in my opinion. I think the disappointment with the 3 extremely rare BPs is the fact that every iteration since the change to the arena, now called Headhunting Arena, the old arena, you could get to a certain point if you had steady access to guns, heals, armor. You could really reliably complete the old arena. And the old arena gave what I would argue is the best reward, which is the files of blueprints. Completing that even a couple of times, especially on a newer account or a free-to-play account, was a massive advantage. It was massive. If you're not familiar with those, you would get a couple of rare blueprints, quite a few common blueprints, and an extremely rare blueprint out of each of those. And if I'm not mistaken, you got 2 files with rare blueprints in them which is really fantastic for completing the event. Now, it was difficult. You needed some strategy, you needed some weapons, you needed the ability to do it, but you could realistically complete that event once you've been able to grind up a little bit. You have to have, port open. You'd have to, be pretty successful. Maybe at that point be able to complete Bunker Bravo and a handful of other steps. You couldn't do it super, super early, but you could make some nice progress. Ever since that change, it feels like we have kind of reverted back to the old ways of getting extremely rare blueprints. Now, I can remember, I've been playing the game for quite a while. I can remember going back and actually purchasing some files of rare blueprints on this account before they were accessible through things like Blackport PD and other means. So the game has definitely shifted in a direction, and a lot of my feedback comes from the fact that I played this game way back when. Pretty much not quite when it first came out. It had gained some popularity at that point, and I stumbled on it, but pretty close to that point. Close to the point where the chopper was still hard to get. The bunker was the main grinding location. There was, not even nearly as many resources as was in the game. And it's just tough looking at this new pass, but also kind of reflecting back on providing feedback around how the system works, the accessibility of some of those things versus the grind that we used to have. But that's not, I guess, super important. And maybe that kind of tempers my opinion a little bit on the fact that, things have become much more accessible than they had from the early days. If you talk to anybody that's played the game early days and kind of kept up with the game, I took a pretty long break before coming back and then started making content, not too long after really kind of getting back into the swing of it and enjoying all of the new content that had been added to the game, which was one of the big issues of the old days. Get updates much more frequently now, I will say, as a positive. I understand that we've had a season pass that's essentially been the same for a really long time, for a really, really long time. And I think where my disappointment lies is obviously with the fact that those things are gone. I know that really impacts people. Really feel like the progression is already hard enough in this game, and I do agree that it is. You really got to grind. You have to be dedicated to this game. But if you really do, you play the events and you find your opportunities, you can make some great progression. But I understand where that being pulled away really feels like the progression slows immensely. And extremely rare blueprints are not necessary for like really long-term success, but they kind of are. There are a few very specific ones. You can make good progress in this game without having the absolute perfectly modded weapons. But there are a handful of extremely rare blueprints, especially some of the active mods for things like the Sawblade Mace, the Glock, and a handful of others that do make a pretty sizable difference. Tactically, they make a difference. Certainly, they make the weapons better in many, many cases, increase damage, increase crit chance, better stability, all of those things which impact weapon performance. But more so than that, there are some active mods that absolutely kind of change the game and how you can approach certain situations. Durability, the amount of damage that you take because you're able to kill enemies and zombies a little bit faster. So having access to those is certainly really, really important. So I understand how the removal of those really impacts a lot of players, especially free-to-play players, where getting to that point and getting the ability to get those with a regular basis is hard. It is really difficult. You could make the argument that over the course of a season, if you're far enough into the game, if you're raiding, if you have pretty strong progression, you could be doing the Blackport PD event each season that it comes around. And I'd make the argument that you could probably get a couple of extremely rare blueprints out of that. You do also have the commune event, which sometimes I feel like gets passed up and is actually one of the best changes we've had for a seasonal event comparative to the others in a long time, where that commune event you can get a inspector card, which is going to give you an extremely rare blueprint. So there are a few options. You have the transport hub as well. You can get really lucky from a couple of the crates and also snag it. So you do have some additional options, but a lot of those are kind of mid to late game, or later game at least, options to pick these up, whereas the season pass helps. So I understand the frustration. It makes perfect sense to me. I'm not disagreeing with anybody on that. In addition to, again, some of the other changes I talked about, personally, I do like the system of these crates where you get to pick something out of this. I think that system's really neat, but I think there's a lot of revision that has to go into this. I'll get to my point here. My biggest disappointment with this whole thing is the fact that it doesn't appear to be any changes or any feedback really was taken to heart about this season pass. You had a good amount of the player base testing it for you, giving you feedback, talking about the things that needed to be fixed, things that could be improved, different ways to do it. I understand that they're trying out a new system, and to a certain extent, that's pretty cool. Some people are going to like it, some people aren't. There just doesn't seem to be any holistic changes from the testing portion that they did, and it just makes me really question, like, I hate to say it, but what did they test it for? That's the part I don't understand. That's my biggest disappointment. If you're going to put out a feature, they could have just rolled this out, right? I don't want to make this come off like this is a knock against them testing it. I'm glad they tested it. I genuinely am. But if you go to test something, if you ask me to test something with a group of people, I'm going to test it, and I'm going to ask for their feedback. And then hopefully some of the feedback gives me some insight. Hopefully it aligns potentially to maybe some of the things that I thought were positives. And it's also going to probably bring up some feedback that's negative. Now, the negative feedback, we don't necessarily have to agree with, right? Maybe there's certain changes in the past that maybe they wanted to do. I can tell that from the system that they have, they really wanted to introduce a pass that is more user unique, right? Give everybody a lot of options and let people mold the pass to the way that they want it. That's what the crate selection is for. They wanted to bring some things back and make maybe potentially things a little bit more accessible. When you look at certain ones of these crates, coins especially is one of them that jumps out. On the paid version, you obviously have the option to pick those up, some of the resources. I will be honest that the paid version of this does feel a little bit stronger, just with the fact that you can pick up coins and some of the additional chest rewards that you get. And I'm not naive to think that that was on purpose, right? They want to make people, when they buy it, feel like they're getting good value out of it. And that's not a bad thing. They are business and have to continue development after all. So there's a few things that I could understand. There'd be some feedback that they would say, okay, you know what, we hear that, but maybe that doesn't align with what we want this to be. What is just kind of mind-boggling, and again, is really where my disappointment focuses on, is the fact that they tested it, and it doesn't seem like they took any of the feedback. Like, it's not a difficult thing, in my opinion, to go and say, hey, this change right here with these pickaxes and axes, just keep them as stacks of 5 like you had before. And you know what? If you want to add more of them, add more. Give me stacks of 10 of these, or give me 2 stacks of these that I can get later on into the pass. I'm so confused. Now, granted, they wanted to take the extremely rare blueprints. It's me, and you wanted to make them a little bit harder, a little bit more of a grind, get folks to play the game more, then take them and move them off of level 30, wherever they was, and put them up in the 50s or the 60s. You got to kind of grind for some of these levels. That would entice players to keep playing, keep coming back to the game, and obviously that's helpful for them from an ad perspective and from getting folks to hopefully, obviously at some point they want folks to spend a little bit of money to play the game, to further development. It is a business. You can't ignore that, right? They're not just doing it for free. That hopefully isn't their sole purpose, but obviously it has to continue for the long-term success of the game. But some simple changes like that just seem like, you know what, if I really genuinely think this wouldn't have been received so poorly if the 3 BPs were back in here, and there are a few other like relatively minor tweaks, I genuinely believe that. Take some coins. Give me like 50 coins and put it into the free. Take this and make it a free reward. You know, like there's just a few other. Throw a Genesis weapon in late, you know, that you can pick up, right? Make these stacks. Make this a stack of 20. Give me a stack of 5 of these. Like some of these things are really not groundbreaking, but would be big helps, especially for folks that could grind and really kind of push through. This would be, you know, season pass can really be something that I think can be ultimately pretty helpful. That's where my disappointment lies. Not all the rewards are going to be good, right? Like I feel like this common misconception where every reward has to be so perfect and these all need to be guns and all. No, that's not what a season pass is. If you play other games with season passes, you know, the first 20 or so levels or whatever is usually just kind of junk, right? That's just entice you, but you move through those levels really quickly. That's why they have an exponential, increase in XP that's needed for these, so that you move through them, you get through, you grind, and then you really start to earn the stuff at the back end, which ends up being better, which is exactly how this is built. You can agree or disagree with that, but that's just kind of like the norm, unfortunately, for gaming. My disappointment really just comes with don't test something and then don't implement any of the feedback. That I just don't understand. I will say this, and I have one other point to bring up, and I don't want to rant. I'm gonna record another video immediately after this, which is gonna make me hopefully happy, or also extremely more sad. You'll see that tomorrow. But I'll make one other point, and then I do want to showcase something. My other point, though, to consider is if you are a free-to-play player, okay, if you are pure free-to-play, you can absolutely be disappointed that the pass isn't as good and remove some of the things that you felt like you really needed, which is probably very valid. But do understand that these are just genuinely free additional rewards. Now, the free rewards were very good in the old pass and probably would help with your progression. But I've seen so many people saying, well, there's just no enticement to grind this. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that you need to grind the season pass. You certainly don't need to now, according to the feedback. And again, I'm not blaming anybody, so don't attack me in the comments. But I am saying that this is genuinely just additional free rewards. Just play the game. Just play the game. If you get some good, useful things out of it, like get to level 48, get 5 grenades. That's great. You could get to level 48 by playing probably half of the events. Do some Bunker Alpha, clear some floors there. Maybe do Bunker Bravo when it comes around. Go do the commune event. You probably could pretty easily get to level 48. Like I've done the commune, maybe a few other things, and I'm almost level 40 at this point. So grab some of the free rewards. Just think about this pass in that way. That way this doesn't bog you down. There's a lot. I say all this not to say don't be disappointed. And people are going to read that or not listen to what I'm saying. Be like, he's shilling. I'm not shilling. The decision to not implement feedback and roll this new pass out is bad. It's just not good. I don't know why they would do that. That's just not good. If they would have rolled this out and implemented some of the feedback, you'd have a pass that many folks would either be okay with or might potentially actually really enjoy, and then you've stacked up the premium version enough that you might entice a few folks to actually purchase it and pick it up. The problem is you nerfed the free pass, essentially, and you've just, cut off a portion. I won't say cut off a portion of player base. People are still going to play. People are going to get upset about this and not play. They make decisions all the time that do that. There's a lot of outcry for the Northern Zone remake and what it took, and people saying, I'm not going to play after that. People always use that as a reaction. And if you don't want to play, that's totally fine. Not saying you should. But I don't think that's like as large of an outcry. People are, if you're playing to the point where this matters to you, you're probably still going to play and just be disappointed, unfortunately, like I am. But just look at them as free additional rewards. And I think if you take that mentality, you can move past this change. I am really hopeful that we see some feedback and some changes. Will we? I have no idea. I don't. If you would ask me that before they rolled the new one out, and didn't change anything, I would have said, yeah, absolutely. They would have listened. They've been doing a pretty good job over the last 6 months or so of actually listening. Some of the northern region things got implemented. It took a little bit of time. They got some feedback, but they made some quality changes. They made a handful of other changes. They've also made some changes that we don't like, but they've made some changes listening to the community feedback. And they talk a lot about sharing it on socials and discussing it. And I do feel like they listen sometimes, but it just felt like this one fell short, and I don't know why. And this was kind of a big one. This is just kind of a big one. So, my last piece of advice before I share something with you is just that if you really look at this, if you're pure free to play, look at these as just bonus rewards to what you can go and accomplish in the game. I will say this, and I am sure the 3 extremely rare BPs helped me on my free to play journey. I'm not going to dismiss that. The rest of the stuff, I probably could be okay without. There are definitely times where I needed some of the weapons or maybe needed some of the armor. But you know what? I would have been able to grind through. I genuinely believe that, and would have been fine. I would have been fine without the majority, the vast majority of those resources, some of which are here, right? Having some of the axes, some of that stuff, some of the weapons, you still have access to that. You can mold this a little bit better. So hopefully that gives you, wherever you are in your last day on Earth journey, some options. Other than that, look at the rest of it. Just do like I do. Wait until the season ends, see where you get, grab some rewards, let it go to your inventory. In a pinch, hopefully you have that stuff when you need it, or you're trying to finish a craft or whatever the case. You can jump into your inventory and go, hey, actually do have some of that. And that'll be useful, and use it that way. Something to consider. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Let me know down in the comments below. I disagree with very little of the community feedback. I really do. After spending some time, again, I personally like the crate selection system, but it needs work. The crates need work. The whole pass needs work, and just listen to the community feedback. Man, I just feel like it would have been so easy to make this really, really good. I genuinely believe that. I feel like it was so close. A couple of decent tweaks and a few other things. Throw in some cosmetics, throw in a few other things that people are hoping to grab with the crates. Just a couple of them. Meet in the middle on some of the stuff. Bring a few of the other things back, and I feel like this could have been pretty good. And yet we're not there. All right, here's what I want to share. In case you did not know, if you head over to the Last Day on Earth official Discord, there is a suggestions topic, okay? It's over here, which is why I'm on the right-hand side of the screen. There's a suggestions topic here, all right? And you can come in here. I pop into here pretty regularly, to be honest with you. I vote on some things. There were many, for days and days, feedback about the season pass. This went on and on. In case you're not aware of how this works, you come in here, you can make a post, you get you get check marks for folks that agree with you, X marks for people that don't, and neutral to say, you know what, maybe okay. It's a decent system. It gets some feedback. There are some things on here that are hugely popular, most of it related to the season pass, as we have seen recently. If you want to share feedback, by all means, share some feedback. If it's good feedback, guess what? You'll get some community support. And this is in their Discord. This is exactly set up to be able to do this, make suggestions, and give thoughts. Again, keep it civil. Not making it civil makes it so that it might just get deleted. I don't know. But this is here to allow your voice to be heard. Obviously, they have other socials, but I do feel like this is well monitored. To be honest with you, there's the Reddit, but like some of these, again, 3 purple blueprints. Look at this. It's got 48 upvotes. You know what I mean? So like, that's one of the highest. Look at this. Rework the pass. Rework the season pass. This was posted just a couple days ago. You know what I mean? It's got 50 upvotes. So like, there is generally a good outpouring of support for making the changes, and that's a way to do it. So if you're not in the official Last Day on Earth Discord, go over there, cruise around, share some feedback. That's the right way to do it. It's a good way to do it. For Kafir, please take some of those suggestions, bring some of those stuff back, push it later, make it a little, make it farther into the pass if you want to do that. Just find a way to let people get some rewards. And I feel like you're like, this could be a cool system. It really could, but it needs some work, and I've shared some thoughts on that before. So if you have any constructive criticism, share it down below. If you're upset and not playing the game, let me know. I didn't change the past. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. I agree with you. I'd take the old one back. If you asked me right now, would you take the old one back? In a heartbeat, I would. And I don't even really need that stuff. So that's saying a lot. I would take the old one back. I would like to give this new one a shot. I'll see how I feel once I buy the paid version, because I am going to get the paid version this go around. You can flame me in the comments for that, but on my paid account, I'll spend the money. And I want to see what the full pass, this is the first time I've had it, I want to see what the full pass looks like on the paid version. So we're going to give it a go. I don't think my thoughts will be changed a ton, but I do like the idea of getting coins. And some of that could be pretty cool. And some of these paid chests are pretty awesome. Like, if you want your extremely rare blueprint, you could pay for it. That's just so bad. That's so bad. C4's gone too. Bring that back. That I do want on free to play. Super bad. I want my free C4 every season. It helps me. It's hard to get. It's hard to craft. Make it easier to craft, and then I won't have this problem. All right, I'm done. I'm gonna go take a breath, drink some water, and go record what I hope will be a more fun video. Let me know, comments down below. If you want to join me here, appreciate it. I do other fun stuff in the game. I really try not to rant like this too much, but I felt like I had to talk about it. And taking this off the cuff, so it is what it is. Thanks for watching. Socials. Help us get to 10K. We'd appreciate that. Got a lot of fun series. Got a ton of resources for you. Lots of playlists if you enjoy Last Day on Earth content. Don't let the season pass get you down. Lots of fun stuff to enjoy in the game. And the grind will go on. Thanks for watching.